Good evening, everyone. We'll call the budget hearing to order, 6:30 p.m. At this time, this is Cindy Riley who will present the budget as the Chief Financial Officer. Cindy.
Hi, everybody. You know how much I hate to talk, so I tried to go through and find, entertaining things about the budget. And even though they were entertaining to me, I knew they wouldn't be to you. So bear with me if I get too long-winded, start asking when I'm going to be done. So, as I've told you other years, when I budget, I am conservative on our revenue and I'm liberal on our expenses, because usually then we end up even or a little more money, because we don't spend as much as I budget for and we get more revenue than I budget for. As we've been going through the last few years though, I found that we have administrators who are very good at having a plan and spending money, and that makes me feel really happy, because I don't like when money is given for this first grader for this year, we save it till that first grader's off. I feel like we get the money for the kids who are there each year. We shouldn't be, we don't have to spend to zero. We should be trying to spend the money that's there for the kids. So we do a really good job here in Regina, and I inherited a really good budget. We have stayed right around about $7 million in fund balance, and now we've got our Fund 46 that we're hoping to pour into. The thing that I guess I would like you to open up to page 6. You guys have these too, right? Okay. So, am I standing in the can?
You're good.
Can I sit down?
They're your good side.
Yeah. If you look at page 6, this is where the budget adoption starts. And one thing I want to tell you about this has to be done so that it can be published 2 weeks before our meeting. So the 15th came last Friday, and then I knew how much we were going to get for or what our valuation was going to be, so we could set our tax levy. So there are numbers that are off a little bit. The only way I can think to do it differently would be to have a meeting the 1st of November or something, because we don't know, and we've got to have the 2 weeks. So if you're looking at what's here versus what's you're going to be seeing at the regular meeting, you're going to see a little bit of difference in the numbers. And that's just the way the penny bounces, I guess. So this first page and first two pages, page 6 and 7, these are the general fund. And while there is later on a budget, a revenue and expense for Fund 27, it all falls into here, okay? Because Fund 27 doesn't have any revenue, well, it has some revenue, but the thing is set aside so we can prove we've spent enough on special ed, because that's federally regulated. And so Fund 10 takes over and gives Fund 27 money along, and then the state and the state and the CISA 5, they give us the money that they give us, but it all comes back to Fund 10. So if you look, this year we've pretty much been told that the state isn't going to give us any more money. They're not going to increase any of our percentages. I don't know why, it's just a political thing, but I therefore look at this budget and it stays pretty static. It's pretty much the same. If you look at the last 3 years, our fund balance went up a little bit this year, and I'm saying we're not going to add to it next year, this current year. But when you look this year, about the second group of where it says revenues and other financing sources. You see this $7 million there, okay? That's about $200,000 less than we levied for last year. But if you look down toward the bottom, the state sources, the second one, 6.89 million, that is about 200,000 more than we got from the state last year. So in the formula, that's how it works out. It's no new funding, they didn't change it, but they had to stick with what they had set up for us. So overall, our general fund and all the other ones look very much alike. Now, the one thing that we have this year that we don't know for sure what it's going to be is ESSER 2 or 3. We know what it's going to be, we don't know when we're going to get it. So I have put ESSER 2 in here. We already spent ESSER 1, but ESSER 3 isn't in here, and that's going to be probably about $2.7 million. So we do have a little bit of wiggle room there. If the 2.7 million was coming into my wallet, we'd have a lot, you know, and you think about your own personal financing, that would be a lot of money. But in Watoma Area School District talk, 2.7 million is about a ninth of our budget. So it's good. It's a good chunk to go after us. But if you go to the middle of page 7, where it says total revenues and other financing sources, you'll see that we're only looking at revenue right now going maybe $6,700 more than we had last year. I'm just wanting to be conservative, and ESSER 3 is going to take some plans. We have to go through a rubric, and supposed to have meetings with the community and things like that. And we want to do it right because it's a lot of money, and we don't want to have to ever pay it back. You'll notice in the expenditures then that the bottom half of page 7, we are pretty much in the support services and in the non-program transactions staying pretty close to the same as we did last year. Any money that we're putting extra into is going into the instruction side of things. And as I've also said many times, I believe that that's important to put our money in the classroom. So that's what I have to say about the general fund. Do you have any questions? Because I need a drink.
Tom, what's physical curriculum? Like, what's that?
Physical education.
Just really that much money? Like, there's no expectations for that or something? That's what I'm wondering.
Well, yeah, we have 1, 2.
But that's the
Teachers
teacher.
and
Personnel
everything.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
and that's not just,
Why do they have to separate that up?
They just show it that way. That's
Oh, okay.
in the, you've heard of the Woofer Code, the Wisconsin Uniform Finance.
No, I've not heard the Woofer code.
You haven't?
No, I haven't, but I'm gonna
Let
not.
me talk Woofer to you.
Okay, tell me Woofer.
So they give me codes that I have to use.
Yeah.
And when we publish it, I try to use these as much as I can. But they differentiate between all the different types.
Okay.
So like the 110,000 is undifferentiated. That's pretty much elementary education. As you get up in the grades, you start having the regular curriculum. That's all the subject matter in the high school. 130 is the vocational, so voc-ed stuff. We have our family, yeah, and business ed.
Band and choir and that too?
No, that's in the 120s.
Oh, 120s.
Yeah. Now 140s is all physical education. 160 is all of our sports, and also the musical, forensics, anything that's co-curricular and extracurricular. So, and then 170, that's kind of a different one that we haven't used a whole lot, but it's in Title I funding. We use that one. It's family engagement and things like that. Okay, so bottom line, our budget this year, at the very bottom, it shows that we are $18,493,780 for expenses, which is about 90,000 more than last year. And it's definitely not a set, or it just, like I told you, the budget changed between when we published it and Friday, and it's gonna change all the time. But we try to keep up with it and make sure that we're using it the best we can, keep you informed. When you see my report every month, I put the budget in and actual to-date spending. That's where this all comes from. Is there anything else that you want me to highlight? I can talk about the other funds, or you can, if you have questions. I did look at our debt service, Fund 38, that's up on page 10. We have paid off about $500,000 of our loan in the last 3 years. Our original loan was 5.9 million, and we're down to, after this year, we'll be at 3.7 million. I looked at if we wanted to pay it off, it would be that amount, and we would save 1.1 million in interest. Yeah, that's all. I mean, we pay about 120 to 140,000 every year in interest, and this loan is out to 2037. So long after let them pay for it, right?
What is the interest rate?
It was about 2, 3. Trying to think.
And I wasn't involved. I'm
No,
sorry.
I know, and I tried to find that today. I think it was just under 4% at the time, because the rates were coming down, and we locked it in.
Sure.
So I can get that
I
exactly.
assume we don't have any investment money earning near that.
No, that's why I thought, let's look at it, see if we want to, because I think it's after 5 years we can pay it. So,
Again, the intent was correct, is that the amount of savings in energy per year would offset the cost of the loan per
Right.
year.
yeah. And I don't know, I mean,
And now that we have the dampers open 30%, that may,
yeah.
it's probably all going.
So, I mean, it's something to think about. Food service fund and community service fund, they should usually pay for themselves at least, and we should never go in the hole. With the food service fund, that money is completely separated from the rest of our funds. It's like its own business. And we've made money on it. Pretty much every year. Last year, she worked really hard to upgrade all the kitchens and everything. And with all the ESSER funds and, just the reimbursement was at the summer food service rate, which is about 75 cents per meal more than the National School Lunch Program. And she made another, what was it? Yeah, another 60,000 this year. Last year she paid it down, or she, sold some stuff, or bought some stuff, and got it down a ways, but that was because the year before we heard from the state that we had too much of a fund balance. So, and then the other thing we did this year, you guys approved this to give everybody who worked with them an extra hour a day. And, they seem really happy. I don't hear a whole lot about it, but they seem happy. Tammy is just fine with them because they're working. When they're there, they're working, so.
And we're budgeting $300,000 for Fund 46?
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. I'm hoping to put another 300,000 in there. We didn't put anything in this year, remember, because of that whole thing with ESSER 2. And that's going to be a little bit of, it's a little different than I expected it to look because they haven't reimbursed us for what we did last year. I booked it as reimbursement, but the whole way they set up that grant, it's all in fiscal year 21-22. And so it doesn't show in this year's fund balance, but it should in FY22. Anything else?
Bill Ray, Cindy, maybe a little bit about, I know there's a graph on the.
Oh, yes, last, yeah, I'm sorry, I have some notes on that. Go to page 12. And here again, this is numbers that we put out there way before we know for sure what they're supposed to be. It's kind of nice that we're closer to it now, but we're still not seeing it before it becomes official. So our mill rate last year was 6.83. Okay, this year it's going to be 6.42. It's got 6.12 here, but it went higher because our property values went up. So when that happens, then the mill rate goes down because you pay more per thousand. So you can see those numbers. And then on the local tax levy at the bottom there, it had for this year 7.296. We actually have a levy of 7.630. So 7,630,000. Because that is an estimate. Our membership on the next page, that's going down. And Tom and I had a long talk about that today. We're doing everything we think right, but it's just declining enrollment. Kids going, they go and go to virtual school, or parents have a lot of choices. So, anything else?
Tom, are other districts around us seeing, that more us seeing similar attrition, or that you know of, or don't you know?
I think districts around us are seeing a lot of kids going to virtual school. I think the virtual charter school enrollments are going up. I can speak a little bit to, recently, if anybody is unhappy with us at all, we're going to virtual school. I'm signing a lot of open enrollment out, now we're 8 weeks into the school year, 6 or 7 weeks in. Different reasons.
Sure.
We're going to go virtually. Good, bad, and different. A lot of times our students are back that second semester without credit, without being educated sometimes. And so
Sure.
I'm hearing the same thing from frustration from other superintendents of kids who are vacating, coming back, or not coming back at all, just homeschooling.
That's my point, is it's not just us, and other school districts are seeing.
No, it's
other public
occurring.
school districts
I
are
mean,
seeing something.
we've always been negative on the open enrollment, especially Wild Rose and Berlin.
Yep.
And I would say that still exists. There are kids we've never seen. I would say the virtual school has ticked up though, especially after the pandemic, that people now know that's accessible. And so they're quick to go that route. And some do succeed. I don't want to say they all won't succeed, but some do, but we often get returns back. And then I think another thing too is the district's going to have to just sort of anticipate. And again, this is happening in a lot of places also, but kindergarten numbers are low. I think rural America is going to start seeing, that where we say about 100 a class, that's probably going to start dipping down a little bit. And I think, so what are we, about 12 years out from those kids being seniors, 12, 13 years out.
Sure.
We're going to start seeing those classes 75 to 80 maybe in that ballpark. And once in a while that always happens in flows or move ins and move outs. But
Sure.
I just have a feeling, talking to Superintendent Adams, they're sending out classes of 140 and they're bringing in classes of 80 at the kindergarten level. And it's just people not having children, people not living in rural America. I think you're starting to see a trend.
Sure.
So
I think the virtual thing may be somewhat of a trend due to being post-COVID. There was so much participation in the virtual, but I think parents, if they have any concerns about their kids' education in the future, will certainly look differently on virtual after any length of time. I mean, like you said, I think there will be some students that will perform at a higher level and take advantage of it, but I think in general, I just can't see those virtual numbers staying up.
I think another, sort of going along with that, Mary, I think another enticement is, I think our COVID policy, mitigation policies are pretty flexible, but there's still some of that, especially like some people think you're too rigid, or you're not rigid enough. So I think some school districts are facing that also. I did read an article, or see a headline that said public school enrollment was down, I think 2.1% in the state of Wisconsin on the third Friday in September.
I did have written down here that when I first came in 2011, the gap between open enrollment in and out it was under 200,000. It was almost even. And this next year, right now, it's, there's twice as much going out as coming in. So our projected revenue is 871,000. So that's kids coming into our district, going out 1.6 million. So it's almost 50%.
You said 2.1%, Tom?
Statewide for
Statewide.
public school open enrollment.
Sure, so we're estimating to be down 1.1% here, so,
So
We're
we're
not
Close.
yet.
Yeah.
yeah. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy.
So I need a motion to adjourn the budget hearing at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second.